Welcome boys and girls, Christine here with a discussion about the campaigns in Total War Warhammer 40,000. Creative Assembly has been doing various interviews on the subject of 40k ever since they announced the game at the Game of the Year Awards 2025. And there is an interview with Gamestar that people have looked at and they've translated the critical points in English. I want to give credit to Weston Sammy for doing so on Reddit, so let's take a look at what Creative Assembly told Gamestar. You can check the article, you can check the Reddit post, both those are going to be in the description of this video. So, from Reddit, the Galaxy Map. The Galaxy Map functions as a hybrid between a campaign selection menu and meta progression. You don't actually move armies or interns here, instead you've been given an overview of the galaxy at large and offered several campaigns to take part in. These campaigns are going to be split in 3 types: full campaigns, short campaigns, and singular decisive battles. So full campaigns will be closest to a traditional Total War, set in a full star system, that are going to take multiple sessions. Short campaigns will be designed to be done in a single session, and singular battles are self-explanatory. Now, this is an interesting decision by Creative Assembly, and I'll explain why they went down this path. The problem that's existed for years in Total War is, how do you represent all the major factions in a big world and then also do that world justice? Because when you look at any war throughout Warhammer's history, be it 40k or fantasy battles, there are many spots where nothing happens, and then there's crucial campaigns happening in rather small areas of the world or the galaxy. So what Creative Assembly is doing here, and this ties back to what Valrak stated about it being a Helldivers type campaign, you're going to have campaign sectors, I would call it, where you are going to go there and you're going to fight, and you're going to have either battles, shorter campaigns, longer campaigns. So you could be going from Armageddon all the way to Cadia, to Baal, and other places. Those important locations in the Warhammer 40k universe. Because the Imperium is very big. But on top of that, campaigns can either be generated or narrative. So we are probably going to have various storylines for the main campaigns. There's probably going to be at least 4. But we will also have generated campaigns. So if you want to create your own Space Marine chapter or play with one from the lore in a randomized campaign, that's something you'll be able to do. So I think this is going to really add to the replayability of the game. But really, it is important to talk about the details and how they will do so. There will be campaigns set in handcrafted systems, locations from the lore with narrative objectives and factions, and also campaigns that are more randomized. And so it's not just going to be either fully narrated or fully randomized. I mean, some will be, but there's probably going to be a healthy mix of both of them. Crucially, completing campaigns carries over effects and changes to the galaxy layer and potential future campaigns. So what you're really starting with 40k is not so much a single campaign that's isolated. You're going to start multiple campaigns, and they're going to have an impact on the galactic map that will influence future campaigns that you have. So for instance, the example that was given was helping the Imperial Guard in one campaign, leading to Allied Imperial Guard forces showing up to support you throughout battles in your next campaign. Now, this touches on a very crucial point about the Imperium in Warhammer lore. In theory, the Imperium works well together, right? And there's a good amount of coordination. In practice, there are many factions in the Imperium that have angered each other so much that there's active hostilities between each other. So there are certain chapters of Space Marines that have infuriated the Mechanicus so much, the Imperial Guard so much, that they're not even just refusing to work with them. they're deliberately sabotaging them. And then, of course, you've got the Inquisition, the Custodes, the Sisters of Battle. It is a mess. I mean, Dawn of War, Dark Crusade, and Soulstorm had the Imperial factions fighting each other, and that happens a lot more often than you might think. There's a lot of politicking going on behind the scenes in regards to that. So I think it would make sense if that was a campaign structure. Like, yeah, you can win in a certain way, but you piss off your allies on the galactic layer. Or you can win in a way that builds up that relationship. I think this would make a lot of sense for an Eldari campaign, because Eldari do like to piss off a lot of people with the various things they do. It's unclear how much management will be done at this layer, but the article does seem to hint that you'll manage the systems you've taken in campaign. So it is interesting to see how things are going to be handled. And then on the campaign layer, this will function more like a traditional Total War campaign. You have armies, fleets, resources, infrastructure to manage, and you move them around the map. Campaigns will feature multiple planets in single systems and sectors. Well, not really sectors, because the sector can be pretty damn big in Warhammer 40K. Think of subsectors, like think of subsector Aurelia, how many planets that had with respect to Dawn of War 2. Planets will be different biomes and states of war. Some may have ongoing battles, beehive planets, etc. Would be interesting to get more details on that, but I suspect we're gonna get some of these details either on December 16th or in next spring. Planets will be separated by space, seemingly connected by lanes, if the gameplay preview is anything to go by, which will be traversed by our fleets, similar to the role the sea played in previous Total Wars. Upgrading fleets and fighting space battles was mentioned, but those details aren't being revealed yet. So, I made a whole video on the subject of space battles. This is a crucial point. Like, yeah, fighting space battles. Now, exactly what we'll be fighting in space is a big question mark. But clearly there's going to be some space encounters to a degree or another. I mean, there's pirates, there's brigands, there's various groups. Like, the Imperium is huge, and the galaxy is huge. A lot bigger than one might think. And when we're talking about settled worlds in the 40K universe. And then with planets, each planet will function like a mini Total War campaign map. So you are going to have continents that are the size of provinces, so think of like several settlements in them, but we need to know how many. Hopefully we won't have a provincial commandment system again. Armies will move around there like a normal Total War map, where you move them around the board, essentially. But instead of building cities, you're mostly relegated to building outposts and bases. I'm guessing this is very heavily tied to the Space Marines, because, yeah, Space Marines, they don't settle down, they don't take territory. They might build outposts at various locations, especially when we're talking about the Dominus Crusade area, because that is one of the things Guilliman did there with the Unnumbered Sons. And clearly in the Steam page, they do mention that Indomitus area. Cities will still play a part, however, but they will be more like independent entities that you occupy and then manage from there instead of building and upgrading yourself. Constructing buildings and recruiting units in them was mentioned, so it seems like it's similar to current city management, just more horizontal than vertical. Yeah, various layers of a city. Just because you have a base in a city doesn't mean you control the entire thing. Like, you wouldn't control an entire hive. That would not make sense. Your fleets can interact with planets by doing orbital bombardment, exterminatus, and so on. So what we're seeing here is very interesting from the perspective of Total War, and kind of makes me believe that what Creative Assembly is doing with, say, the Changeling, for instance, or Sea Lord Aislinn, is kind of like building the structure for how a campaign could work. Of course, Sea Lord Aislinn and the Changeling have a lot of problems because Warhammer 3 is a very different style of game, but I'm starting to believe that what Creative Assembly has started to do, to some degree, is using Warhammer 3 as a kind of testing ground for various mechanics that they are going to use in 40K. And in a way, this is what CA Sophia has kind of always done. Though previously they did it in Saga games, now they're doing it in Warhammer 3. They develop ideas that are going to be used in future games. They see what ideas work, what don't work, all that. They're experimenting. Sometimes it works well, like with ogres, for instance. Sure, we can talk about Maneater. And speaking about Maneater, think of greenskins, or orcs in 40k. Orcs in 40k are not monolithic. Like, they're not just fighting once. There's pirate groups, there's mercenaries, and so on and so forth. So I do think there's a lot of potential here, and it's certainly going to be a very different game structure than what we've had before. Now, I understand plenty of people are skeptical of Creative Assembly doing things well, but I would like to point out the following. Ever since the release of Empire Total War, we've kind of followed the same game structure, campaign map structure, to various degrees. So this is a substantial change from that, and hopefully it will work out. Or not. We'll find out. Christine signing out. Stay tuned for more.